Some financial habits don't look like mistakes. They look normal. They look responsible. They look like what everyone else is doing. But they slowly keep you in the same place for years without even realizing it. And I know that because I was doing them for a long time. So in this video, I want to talk about the financial habits that were holding you back. And if you can recognize these habits, then you can change your direction a lot faster than I did. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Stephanie and I'm in my 40s, and my financial journey hasn't exactly followed a straight line. I married young, became a mom at 19, went through a divorce and layoffs, and later paid off $180,000 in debt. Now I'm remarried, on track to paying off our home, and moving toward early retirement. And this channel is where I share what I'm learning and what's actually working as I go. If you're on this journey too, you're in the right place. So does this sound like you? You go to work, you pay your bills, and everything seems fine, right? You continue your daily life like normal. And all the while, you really didn't have a plan for your money. You just knew bills were paid. But in the end, there was always something, literally always something. Some kind of doctor's bill that you weren't expecting, some unexpected semi annual bill that pops up. And you look back a year later and your money's exactly the same, or worse, it's even less. You don't really feel like you make a dent in anything. You just feel like things stood still. And even though you felt like you were making progress because you were paying everything, everything just feels the same. You look back like, where the hell did all my money go? I thought I was making progress. You were paying everything on time, but a year later, it looks exactly the same. But what I learned is that money doesn't improve by itself, right? It doesn't improve by accident. You have to tell your money where to go. If you don't have a plan for your money, it will do its own thing. If you just tell your money, hey, sit there and I'll call upon you when I need you, your money's not really working for you. You're not telling it to do a certain job. You're just having it sit around. So if you think about it, like if you decide, every Sunday, I'm going to clean the house, right? But you don't really have a plan for what you're going to clean, your house may pretty much look the same, right? Let's say you went ahead and you uh, swept the floor or vacuumed, right? Or cleaned out the fridge. But there's still shit everywhere on your table, right? It's all cluttered up. Your office looks like crap. If you don't have a plan on what you're going to do, things are just going to pretty much fall in place wherever they are. And it's going to look disorganized. And that's exactly what happens with your money. If you think about it, it's kind of like having a cluttered desk, right? You have all these important papers, right? Important papers. They're not categorized, right? You don't know what's what, right? It's just a big stack of papers. And you go and look for something later. You literally have to sift through everything, right? It's a pain in the ass. You're like, why didn't I just separate this, right? Or why didn't I scan it, right? There's got to be some organized method so you can find things when you need them. Same thing with your money. If you need to find money for that unexpected bill, you should have a bucket for that. If you have expected expenses every month, your rent, your mortgage, your electricity, your water, that's expected. There should be a bucket for that, pocket for that, right? But this next habit actually felt more dangerous because I felt like I was making progress when I really wasn't. So before I would save here and there, right? I would just have literally like a savings account. It's like 0.1% interest that I'd got on it, right? I didn't know any better. Nobody told me about high yield savings accounts or how you can actually save your money. I just knew if you went to your bank, you had one of two things. You had a checking account and a savings account. So I opened one and I just threw some money in there whenever I had extra money, right? I didn't really think about what that savings was for. I just knew I needed an emergency fund or I needed, some type of savings, right? But I didn't know what that money was being saved for. So I felt like I was doing the right thing. I'm like, hey, this is rainy day money. This is, I'm going to need this in emergency. I'm going to need this for when something needs to be fixed for my car, some unexpected bill, right? Like it was like a catch all bucket. I had a savings, so I felt safe. But the problem was every time something happened, my savings would be depleted over and over and over again. So I felt like I was not really getting ahead. The savings would fill up and then I would use it for something I needed it for and it would just be gone. I'm like, what the hell's the point of this? Right? Like it didn't feel like I was making any progress. And I was like, this is how you're supposed to do it though, right? You throw money in the savings account and when you need it, you take the money out. So I didn't understand why I kept falling back to zero and then I was never really getting ahead. But what I didn't know was not all savings are treated equal, right? You have savings for emergency fund, right? And you have savings for, your future. And you have savings for vacations, right? Like you got to know what the money is for. And there's different variations of how you can save your money. So for my savings account, I don't use a savings account with my regular bank. I actually took out a high yield savings account. And what that is something that you earn interest on. So a regular savings account, it's like barely anything, right? You're getting like 0.002% or something like that for your interest rate. All that means is they are paying you to park your money there because they're using your money for whatever. When you go ahead and you put money in a bank, it's not just sitting there. And I actually have a video where I explain that. I'll leave it in the description. But essentially, you want to be paid for parking your money at the bank because they're using it. So why not get paid for that? So I have my money in a high yield savings account where I'm earning interest on it by it being there. So when I do need it, I can take it out. But at the same time, if I don't take it out or if I'm not using it, I'm earning interest on that money. So I'm getting paid for saving. Whereas before, I wasn't getting paid at all for it. It was just getting depleted. So saving money without a plan is just delayed spending. But the habit that held me back the most was how I thought about my income. I used to think that the more income I had, the more of my problems that would be solved, right? If you have high rent or high mortgage, naturally you think to yourself, if I earn more money, then I could save more money, or I could go on vacation more, or I could buy, a new car, right? And I thought to myself, if I could earn a certain amount of money, then I would be in a good place. The more money I make, the more I'll invest. The more money I make, the more I can save. And the more money I make, the more serious I'll get about my financial freedom. But when income goes up, so does your problems, right? Things start popping up that you realize that you're not intentionally thinking about. When you have more money, then you'll have more money to spend on food, groceries, um, your little lifestyle creeps. And it's not like I bought like name brand stuff. I thought I was like pretty non name brand type, but I would buy more bulk stuff. Like I'd go to Sam's and let's say, I don't know if you guys know about Sam's, but it's basically a warehouse type of store, right? Everything you buy comes in like packs of 50, or big jugs. But I would go and let's say I wanted to get paper towels and I don't know, detergent, right? Well, all of a sudden I'm buying like a 4 pack of foil that'll last me for 3 years and, the big old thing of chicken legs or chicken thighs or wings. And I didn't really need chicken, but it was on sale. So I bought it. So once you start having a little bit of income increase, you start noticing you add things to your cart that normally would have caused you pause. And it's not that I was spending like crazy where I was like buying a brand new car or something like that. It was just little things that I noticed that I was doing that old me would have been like, oh, I don't have enough money for that. But when I started to earn more income, I stopped really thinking about the cost because I knew I had the money for it. So the money that I could have saved, I was like spending on other things. So it's kind of like that, when people say like, oh, calm down on the lattes, where they go to Starbucks or whatever. Like to me, it's crazy to spend 5, 7, $10 or whatever the cost is on a freaking coffee. But I see myself spending it on other things where, that would be like my coffee or my Starbucks, kind of thing. So I can see where that lifestyle creep happened in my life. So the problem wasn't my income. It was that my habits pretty much increased once my income did. And I needed to realize that just because I have more money doesn't mean it's meant to be spent. I need to have a purpose for the money. I mean, there's people that earn, 100, 200, $300,000 and they still live paycheck to paycheck because of that exact reason. They don't have a plan for their money. They just think, I make this much money, I can afford it. And yeah, you're right, you can afford it. But if your plan is for financial freedom, you're never going to get there if you spend what you make. So if your habits don't change, more money just makes the same life more expensive. And this leads to the habit that costs me the most time. I used to say to myself, well, later on, I'll have more time for that. Or when I'm retired, I'll have more time for that. I'll clean out that room when I have more time. Next month, next year, I'll open that savings, when things calms down, when things calm down at work. It was always later. Later I'll get to it, right? Later when I feel better. Later when I get more inspiration. Later when I get more motivated, right? But life never slows down. We know that. Things always come up, right? You're always going to be busy. People are always going to depend on you, or you're going to always have tasks to complete. Things always come up. And later always turns into years. And time passes by whether we're accomplishing our goals or not. I wanted to start, redecorating, this office. I wanted to have, you know, a nice computer setup. I wanted to have my double monitors. I wanted to have my desktop computer and nice shelves. And it took me almost 2 years to actually accomplish that. I'm happy the way, my office is set up now, but it took me so long because I kept saying, later when I have more time, later. I mean, my husband helped me with this, wallpaper because it was kind of like really dark in here before. And I sat in here every day working basically in the dark. And I'm like, what is taking so long to just say, hey, I have this idea. Can you help me with it? And it took me so long to like pick what I wanted for the room. And it's like, why not just do it? There's no time like the present. And now that it's completed, I'm just like, I'm enjoying it now, but it took me so long to just like make the decision to like, hey, this is what I want, and he didn't have any issue with it. He was like, just tell me what you want and I'll put it up for you. But it was me that was holding it back. I kept trying to put off more time before I actually pulled the trigger and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I want to have it set up. This is the angle I want my desk, just make make the decision. But progress doesn't start when everything's perfect, right? You cannot wait for the perfect time because time passes no matter what. It starts when you decide, right? It's not about waiting for that perfect time. There's never going to be a perfect time, right? There's always going to be times where you're tired and you don't feel like it, right? I don't feel like going to work, but I've been doing that for years, right? It's like there's things that we don't want to do. I don't feel like paying the electric bill every month, but I got to do it. I don't need inspiration to pay my water bill. I have to pay it. So I should be able to treat, things like that for myself a lot more serious, like I treat my bills. I need to make sure that I don't say, I'll wait for later. I need today to be the day. But waiting until later truly was the one that cost me the most time. Because if I would have started this journey sooner, then I think I would be a lot more far ahead. But I do believe everything happens for a reason. But in the end, I know there was a lot of pushback going on up here. It wasn't anything physical that was holding me back. It was me. It was myself. It was my mindset on where I was, and I just want to let you know that if you feel like there's a goal that you're trying to accomplish, go for it. Don't wait until tomorrow, because tomorrow comes and goes. And before you know it, a year later, you're still going to be in the same spot. So why not get ahead? And when I look back now, all of these habits were connected. When I look back now, none of these habits felt like mistakes. It just felt like I was being normal. I thought I was doing what everyone else was doing. But normal doesn't build financial independence, it keeps you in the same place. The real shift for me was realizing that these habits were holding me back. And if I kept repeating them, I was going to be in the same place for years, for the rest of my life. And your life's direction is not based on one decision, it's based on the habits that you do repeatedly over and over and over again. I used to feel like before I was too far behind, that I made way too many mistakes. But now I don't see that anymore because I can actually see the progress. It's not happening overnight, but little by little, I can see these mini decisions that I'm making for myself day by day is directing me on the right path. And if you're feeling like you're stuck or behind or you should be farther ahead, you don't need to revamp your whole life. Just look at the decisions and the habits that you're making every day. If you multiply those, you will be able to see what your future holds, because small changes repeated over time can completely change your life. And if you're also trying to figure this out, you're not behind. You're just getting clear. And that's what I'm doing too. If you found value in this video, consider liking the video, as it really does help the channel grow. Please subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.